Hi, I'm Mark, born and raised in Burlington, Ontario, hung out in Toronto, went to school in Hamilton. I am the lead vocalist, or vocalist, for Hockey Teeth and Stand Against Fear, otherwise known as SAF. So what got me into punk and hardcore? The catalyst for sure was my dad's passing in 1975. As I mentioned, I was an 8-year-old in 1975. He was 35 years old, and he had Hodgkin's cancer. So he had a surgery, and everything looked good. I remember having 78 stitches basically handed to me from the doctor right across from Central High School in Burlington, and said, "Would you like these?" And of course, as an 8-year-old, I reached out and said, "Absolutely." My dad said, "Stop teasing the boy." Based on that, we went home thinking that everything was good, and we had this Persian cat named Percy, who turns out that Percy actually ended up being a female cat. The vet got it wrong, and it had never had its nails cut in the rear paws. So my dad, in infinite wisdom, one day decided to cut Percy's nails, and when he hit the back nails, Percy took a chunk out of his forehead, and we lived in Tuck Park in Burlington, and he threw the cat down the cellar, only to find out that the doctor, after he went to the hospital, said, "You have 2 months to live," and that was that. So we got shipped off to England for 3.5 months in 1975, and my cousin introduced me to everything coming out in England at that time. Elvis Costello, Boomtown Rats, Pistols, Clash, Jam, you name it, all between 75 and 79 when I came back. First wave into quote-unquote the end of British punk rock, which to me is bullshit, but that's the media for you. So that really influenced my life massively, as he introduced me to many different bands, and left an indelible mark on my life, because I was just this young, influential kid who was a sponge, and I was soaking everything up that I possibly could at that time. Okay, so my dad passed, and you know, watching Top of the Pops, you learn a lot of shit. We came home, and as a young wee boy who sang in the choir, sang professionally for Christchurch Cathedral, the expectation was that I was going to sing at my dad's funeral. So I was put front and center stage to sing solos at his service and do a reading. And just turned 9, my viewpoint was, you have no idea the damage you're doing to a 9-year-old boy. At this point, we moved, life changed. For my friends who made fun of me at the time, one of my career changes was I sold life insurance for a living, and that's what my dad believed in, but never bought any until it was too late. So it made sense to me to go into that for a living. It only makes sense to me to make sure that your family is protected. When we moved, I met this family called the Kirkwoods, and there was this young chap named Doug Kirkwood who became my best friend growing up. He had 2 brothers named Jeff and Chris, otherwise known as Crash. Crash kind of got me, okay, totally between my cousin Guy in England, and Crash got me into punk rock. Crash loved to play his guitar. He was playing in a band called Slander at the time, and I would go over to Doug's house and Crash would tell me, pick an album, any album, what do you want to listen to? And I'd pick a song out of his milk crate, any album, throw it on the turntable, and he'd play it verbatim. It was fantastic. It was like listening to it in stereo. With Crash, within that, we moved to a townhouse condominium in Burlington, and I had a friend also named John Gonzalez, and he had a sister named Louise, who was friends with Pete Lewis, who was also friends with Sean. And between the two of them, that's when I got into The Exploited, GBH, Poison Girls, Crass. Those guys, between the three of them, I'll say, literally sent me on a path to learn and want to explore what punk was, hardcore was. Really wasn't hardcore at that time, it was more punk because we were still stuck back in the early 80s, I'll call it at that point. But just that sponge, wanted to soak up as much as I possibly could, learn as much as I could, and start figuring shit out. There also was one other chap that I went to school with named John Ostaff, who probably is long lost and forgotten from my school friends, but he was a punk and disorderly guy, and so he bought a lot of comps and would make me mixtapes of various different bands, Business, Mania, whatever. It didn't matter. It was a lot of English stuff. He did introduce me to the Dead Boys between Crash and him, and that's what kind of set me on my way in punk and hardcore. So that turned into this, which was my first punk album that I ever bought. I remember playing it for my mom, and my mom was like, I don't like the name. So I put it on the turntable and I play away, and she's like, actually that's pretty good. They're all right. They're not bad. Until Bodies came on, and then that changed everything for a little boy. What were my personal influences, personally or musically? I came from a very musical family. That would be the soundtrack of my life. That was our family. We literally went door to door Christmas caroling on our street in Burlington. We started out as the first house, and by the last house on our street, with all the adults with their coffee in their cups, we would sit outside somebody's house and sing songs. I played, well, the whole family sang, and I played violin from the age of 3. I played trumpet. My mom was a piano teacher. My dad played air instruments, if you will, horns. My other sister, my middle sister, played violin, and just a very music family. Personally, the influences for me were, of course, my mom and dad. My dad died at 35, 2 months into my 9th year, so that was a major change in my life. And then, of course, my sisters playing their music. My friends' dads became kind of my second dads, if you will. And I leaned on them for decisions about where to go in school, where to go professionally, job-wise. What else can I tell you? And then, of course, my punk rock family. Once that rolled out, the community. Certainly I was influenced by bands, lyrics, and those friends around me. First concert attended, first punk show, one and the same. So, 1980, Burlington Central Arena. I saw your video, Mick, and there you go. Ramones, Forgotten Rebels at Burlington Central Arena. I attended that with Doug, and Crash went to it, and Doug and I went to it because of Crash. We didn't physically go in, we watched actually from a crack in the back roll-up door in the back of the arena, and as a 12-year-old boy, we had, as Doug said, people with green hair, blue hair coming up saying, "Hey man, you want to buy some dope, man? Come on, get some pot." And Doug would say, if my brother ever knew, he would kick the shit out of these guys. So we kept it quiet for a lot of years. So there you go, Crash. If you're watching this, Doug kept quiet. So 1980, the Ramones. This is a list. I am the librarian according to all my bandmates have called me the collector of everything. It's what apparently I'm good at. I am the secretary, the librarian. I keep notes on all this shit. So for about, I don't know, 3-4 years, I did do that. I probably have a gig flyer from just about every major show I've ever seen, or set list or something, because I'm just that anal about it. I don't know. Thank you for doing this, Steve, because you opened Pandora's box for me, brought me through a lot of memories. I had a lot of stuff locked away in boxes that I forgot all about, actually, and it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that I've been through. So if you guys are okay with it, sitting at home, I'll just take you through some stories, a bunch of gigs that I was fortunate enough to see. My next one after the Ramones was in '82. I went to Buffalo on the party bus as a 14-year-old to go see The Who, The Clash, and David Johansen from the New York Dolls. I went with a bunch of buddies, and well, Seamus, if you're listening, hey Seamus, how's it going? He stole a lot of his parents' booze and put it in a Slazenger tennis can, and it was swamp. Right? It was just a whole lot of shit, but as 14-year-old kids who knew, while the rest of the bus, it was like Cheech and Chong up in smoke. Pretty tough to get off that bus without a smile on your face. So we went to the gig, managed to get all the way up front, about 4 rows from the front. This is actually a program from it. Whatever. I'll just keep throwing shit out of the way. Here we are, right up front at the Clash gig. And so as we get up front, I find a milk crate because I'm 4'0". It gets me to a height where there's 90,000 people behind us, and we're literally staring right in front of the band. And all of a sudden, it was like the parting of the Dead Sea. And you're wondering, what the fuck is going on right now? Everybody's moving out of the way with something coming through. And this guy's head just goes right into my chest and goes, empties his stomach contents out onto my pants. Well, that was interesting. So we ended up moving away and heading up to another sight line because that apparently wasn't appropriate. Let's see here. The Who last concert televised in '82, saw that. Blue Peter, which I do have an album in there. About, I guess it was April. The singer of Blue Peter just passed away, so my condolences to my friends, Sean Cheery, who just informed me yesterday about that. I went to his service because of COVID. That was yesterday. So again, my condolences. Great concert down at the the CNE. I went to see Kiss and Accept, Balls to the Wall in 84. In 85, massive turning point. In 85, Exploited in UK Subs was my, I'll call it technically my really first gig. Although I'd seen the Ramones, yeah, I saw them, but now I was inside and I was in the pit. And if you ever went to Larry's Hideaway, it was pretty fucking good. That's all I gotta say. We got invited up from Waddy and the guys in the Exploited, Carl, if you're watching this, howdy doody. And got to hang out upstairs in Larry's Hideaway with them. I got offered the Broken Bones shirt that's on Horror Epics, but I was too much of a meathead. I had slices down my arm from the Christmas tree studs that were in the pit. I had blood flowing down my face from a Christmas tree I took between the eyes. And they were adamant. They don't get white Exploited shirts in England. And I bought it from a head shop for about $6 on Yonge Street. But it was more important to hang on to that because it meant something to them. So anyway, could have had that Broken Bone shirt. I took a picture of Waddy and Charlie at that time and got to see the UK Subs at the Hard Luck 4 or 5 years ago and ended up giving it to Charlie because there's no point in me owning it. I don't take these things for me and I don't own ownership. When it goes on the internet, it's on the internet, it's everybody's, that's just the way it is. So I gave it to him and I explained the story, and there's actually a picture of me handing it to him and telling him the story of Waddy and him with my best mate Rod. Hello Rod, slop it up Muir! Anyway, so next one after that was May 11th, 85. GBH, Direct Action, Chronic Submission, and Slaughter. Although that's not the one from the Exploited, there's an old Idlicos one. There's the Slaughter set list from 85, May 11. Beauty. A lot of this stuff is in that book right there. Punk, Tomorrow's Not Too Late. And so, anyway. GBH, that was the poster from it. Midnight Madness and Beyond. And the funny thing about punk rock to me is how everybody claims that it's this punk or it's that punk or it's not punk enough or it's too punk or it's whatever. Think about 1985 and a punk rock band putting this out, and where are they trying to go? I'm not saying they're not punk, but I am saying that there's a lot of divisions within the punk rock scene that are quite annoying about where do you want to go, what do you want to do, are you down at this level, are you up at this level, are you too punk, are you too little punk, fuck off. That's all it is. 85, Images in Vogue. 85, Direct Action, Sudden Impact and Chronic Submission, Asexuals, The Nils, Big King Corpse. This was an interesting gig for me because I met one of my very good friends, Kenny Huff, who was number 7 in the world in wrestling, wrestled for York University, and he always thought, he was known as the instigator, so yeah, Larry's Hideaway, he would run a pillar and run up the pillar and then do a backflip off it, and then the floor would fill in with people and it would get everybody moving. So we're at Lee's Palace watching the Asexuals, and he decides to go in the opposite direction. So at that point, it was kind of like, okay, here we go, and I got into a bit of a row with him. To me, it was a big row. To him, he laughed and said I didn't think it was that big of a deal. A week later, we're buying each other beers at the Siboney, and that's the way it rolls. There was never anything always held against each other. There was nothing. It was a bunch of fists one week and your best friends the following week. It was fantastic. I'll call it a brotherhood, but there was sisterhood. Obviously no fists, but that's just the way the community rolled. 999, Screamin' Sam, UIC. The Alarm in 85. So here's my program from 85. Looks like I had a good time. The pages were literally, quote unquote, stuck together. really good time. I've seen The Alarm 3 times. They're a fantastic band. Circle Jerks, Negative Gain, Sudden Impact. Forgotten Rebels, first time in 85. Neurotics in 86. Scream, Dove and Sam Hain, which is Danzig and Eerie Von. Ex-Misfits, for those that don't know. Problem Children, Difference. Dick Van Dyke's in 86. So one of the gigs that I ended up coming back to see in Burlington, Knights of Columbus Hall, Social Suicide, Sons of Ishmael. This would have been right around that time. This was a DIY thing where back in the day, if the clubs didn't give you a spot to play because they didn't respect you, then they would ultimately charge you and you would rent the hall out. So Knights of Columbus, that's how it went. And for anybody that knows Problem Children, that's how you lived. That was the logo that really did it for all of us. Let's see, where did we go after that? Okay, Northern Pikes. Yeah, Northern Pikes! Lee's Palace in 86. And I have a funny story about that. The most I'll give you is a good friend of mine from high school. She stayed and ended up sleeping over that night. I do have a set list actually from them. So interesting scenario, but it's a small world, and that's how, if we're talking influences, that's how my world started to become. So you can be friends with these people, so you can do this, so you can do that. That's how my world started to formulate as a young lad. 86, Problem Children, AKS. 86, Kitten with a Whip, Hated Uncles, Trash in the Bags. 39 Steps, Resistance, Nunfuckers, L'Étranger. So, massive. Andrew Cash, politician now. We're not all pieces of shit. We're actually people that have brains, can think for ourselves, can go somewhere, do something worthwhile. I have my L'Étranger album in there that I'll show you later on. But I remember watching them on Channel 57, 79, whatever, back in the day, City TV, and watching their videos of them jump around in combat boots. Negative Gain, Social Suicide, Belligerence, Verbal Assassination. AKS, Dayglow Abortions, Alien Television, October Crisis, POW, Negative Gain, Condo Christ, Dayglow Abortions, GBH, 63 Monroe, Condo Christ, GBH, Johnny Onslaught, Was Is Lost, DRI, Mike Marley and the Sailors, Was Is Lost, UXB, AKS, Problem Children, Straw Dogs, Story for Sarah, Parts Found in Sea, The Difference, Hated Uncles, Forgotten Rebels. This just goes on and on. It went week in, week out. There was none of this, you gotta wait a month before the next gig. October Crisis, Dayglow Abortions, Hype, MDC, Sudden Impact, Christ on Parade, Youth of Today, 7 Seconds, Forensic Banquet, Slow, Tupelo Chain Sex, Social Suicide, Problem Children. I'll skip some of these. Discharge, Sacrifice, Beyond. That was a beautiful show. So if anybody went to that show, you'd know that Cal basically, he wasn't singing like he normally was. And if, again, back in those days, there was no internet. So you didn't know what was coming. You had to rely on fanzines. You had to rely on a lot of that stuff to try and read forward, if that's the right terminology. So I'm reading MRR, and I'm reading about how he's getting Rotten Tomatoes and egged, and the whole band is like getting booed off stage, and you're like, why? I'm going to go see them. And then you realize that, I can't remember, he might have lasted 3 or 4 songs before the same damn thing happened, and then the band is just saying, does anybody know any of our songs? Does anybody want to come up here? And Cal basically had a thong on, G-string, whatever, and he ends up mooning the crowd and leaves. He's done for the night. Anybody know any songs? Anybody know any Discharge? Does anybody want to come up here? So they just tried to burn through the rest of their set while, we're either singing because we don't know the whole thing, or not feeling comfortable in the crowd, whatever. A couple people did get up, but interesting show nonetheless. So, Johnny Valentine, Headless Horseman, Problem Children, DOA. Oh, here we go. October 1st and October 2nd. So, this was a very interesting show. That's the flyer there from Chuggy's, which is now the Corktown. Beauty of going to school in Hamilton was that we could skip school, go down in the Corktown for 50-cent pints, and literally waste away our afternoon. I met DOA on that night. I think that was the first time. And this was their little thing disclaimer that they had at the door. It says, participation, not decimation. To whom it may concern, in front of the stage is a free frame of reference. It's physical, it's fun, it's for everyone who wants to take a risk. It's not for the strong to mash the weak, the big to muscle the little, or men to mash women. It's not a combat zone for any one person or any group to control. Everyone should be able to participate. Together we can create and expand the bounds of freedom for the best DOA. So, during that gig, I was having a good time like I normally do, doing my thing, going around and around in what I deemed as, in those days, yeah, we slam danced at one point, and then we did this mosh pit, we'll call it, circle. So I'm going around and around, and I got lined up by skinheads. In Hamilton there was a big skinhead scene, and just doing my thing. At that point I didn't know one from another to another, and some guy lined me up, and I dropped him and bounced his head off the floor 3 times. I thought I was going to get killed, as I had a whole bunch of guys pick me up and lift me off, and that guy said, "It's okay." He put his arm around me, we danced around the floor, and everything was cool, only to find out that he was actually the leader of the skinheads. And at that point, we became acquaintances. This is the set list from that night, from the original DOA band, where you've got John Card up here, Sonny Boy Roy, Joey Shithead, and Dave Gregg right there. So that was the set list, October 1st, 86, and they decided, because I was having fun and I wasn't a dick, that they would put me on the guest list the next night in Toronto, and they said, "Well, what's your name?" And so I said, "Mark," but my friends call me Beav. So they're like, "Okay, Beav." I said, "Yeah, my nickname's Beaver, it's been that way since grade 4, but my name's Mark." And so I show up downtown Toronto, I think it was at RPM, doesn't matter, doesn't change the story, does it? And so I walk up to the door and I go, "Hi, my name's Mark, I might be on the guest list." And they go, "Yeah, we don't see anybody named Mark here." And I said, "Okay, well, might be under Beav." And they're like, "Oh my God, you're Beav?" We were expecting something completely different. Right. So, Trash in the Bags, Me and Red Spiders, Condo Christ, Problem Children, Die Cruisin', Dr. No, DRI, where are we here? Oh yes, in Toronto show it was Group Home, Scott B. Sympathy, and DOA. I saw Chalk Circle. So you can take your tears for fears, and I'll lower you. Chalk Circle. Nunfuckers, BFG, AKS, Condo Christ, SNFU. If you know me, you know my love for SNFU. Okay, Verbal Assault. Steve, you were saying? There's your Toronto gig. Or sorry, Hamilton gig. 7 seconds, Youth of Today, and Verbal Assault. You don't remember it? But I do.
Nope.
And the beauty about this one, for me, was, again, you're at a punk rock show. I still remember I was wearing an Egg Hunt shirt. I had a photo of it. That's probably why I remember. I've lost it probably 30 years ago. But somebody took it with me rolling off the top of everybody's head almost onto the stage. Homemade, of course, because I made a lot of stuff myself. why would I buy something only to have it ripped in the pit? Because that's the way it went. So, at that show, Ray from Today was, he was a fighter. He dealt in MMA or whatever. Rah, rah, rah. Yay, yay. So, but he didn't like to put up with a lot of shit and wouldn't put up with fighting. So, in that pit, there was a skinhead that decided that he was going to get into something with somebody. Don't know what it was about, don't care. And halfway through the song, he decided, fuck this, dropped the mic, went straight out in the crowd, grabbed onto the guy and threw him right out the side door and slammed the door, came back up, apologized to the crowd, and carried on in the song. That life-altering moment. You take all these little snippets and you put them somehow, they find their way through your armor and they go in your head, and that formulates part of you. Problem Children, Condo Christ, No Mind, Toxic Reasons, Problem Children, Straw Dogs, Descendants, BSL, DOG, Social Suicide, and Straight Ahead. Okay, so back in this time, this would have been 86. We got spoiled a lot back in the 80s, and we didn't even know it. DRI, Beefeater, Straw Dogs, Gangrene, Descendants, and Slapshot, all coming through within a month of each other. I mean, anybody that likes punk rock would just be like, fuck you, right? As I get the finger. So, here was 7 Seconds at the Bridge in August 15th. That was their set list. I probably paid $7 to $10 maybe for it. And it just went on and on. Beauty was, I had mentioned to Kev, posted it to Kev, and he said, okay, is there anything else? Well, I flip it around and he did it on a Discharge DRI Dayglow with the JFA and Blast. Coming soon, Ramones, Dickies, Rollins, Circle Jerk, Sparks, Doctor and the Medics. I mean, those, wow, like spoiled little rotten brats. Here's the Youth of Today set list from December 12th, 86 at the Rock Pile. That was the set list that they played at that gig. Massive Youth of Today fans, so if you like the early stuff, you know where I'm coming from. Okay, from there, where did we go? Let's talk about this one here for a second. BSL, DOG, Social Suicide, and Straight Ahead. Let's go back to that. One of the most phenomenal things that I ever witnessed as a guy in the crowd, jumping around, doing my thing, rah rah, and Straight Ahead headlined from New York, and they played this tune. Can't even tell you what the song was. No idea. Didn't know Straight Ahead at the time. And the whole crowd completely jumped on stage, smothered the singer, took the microphone away from him, and all sang it within what looked like a beehive, to the point that the singer was like, where's my microphone? What am I doing standing here? And had to jump up and went down with his feet in the air like this, down into the beehive to get his microphone back because the crowd had taken away from it. Mwah! Now that was beautiful. That, if only I could ever do that in a band. You can have it. Just, it's wonderful to see people sing our songs. Drunk Dentist, Problem Children, Asexuals, and Descendants. Okay, so this is a funny story for me because I had an East Indian friend from high school named Anoop Gupta. Anoop, if you're still in somewhat of the scene, I have a lot of stories from him, a lot of good times. But I decided in my infinite wisdom, hey, Descendants are playing Hamilton. Do you want to go see them? Sure. So I said, okay, cool. I'll pick you up at whatever, and I drive him to the gig. We get to the gig. I was in East Hamilton, I'll say Kenilworth, and we get there, and I said to myself mentally, well, fuck, there's a lot of skinheads here. Huh, okay. So we make our way, and we get inside, and we go through the bands, and Descendants are playing. Anoop comes up to me, and he goes, he's peeking. He goes, they're gonna fucking kill me. They're gonna kill me. Oh my God, what the fuck? Everybody's eyeing me up. I go, what are you talking about? Everybody's eyeing me up. I go, dude, we're just at a show. We're just trying to chill out, watch the band, enjoy yourself. He pulled me out of the pit to do that, to say that. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I had to actually remove myself, stand and watch, and look around the room, only to find out he's right. He's on about 4 hits of acid, because that was his flavor. But they were eyeing him up. So then I had to go to my acquaintance, my friend, and say, what's it going to cost to get my friend out of here? So we had a discussion, and a deal came out of it, and we quickly removed ourselves from that situation. But sad but true, those were the times, those were the days. That's what some of us dealt with, and unfortunately for him, it probably was more than certainly White Boy Mark. Some of the other times that I had with him was we had a When Harry Met Sally moment. I took him to Pink Floyd at the exhibition stadium, and flying pigs and stuff going across the stadium. And behind they had this big round camera, we'll call it. It was like a round mirror, if you will, with a scene of a river going down and a rainstorm and a lot of greenery. And it was all in slow-mo, and the rain came down and hit a leaf, and then it would go down to the end of the leaf, and then it would drop off, and then it would hit the water, and it would do ripples like this. And he'd be like, no way, no way, no, like this. And I'm like, what the fuck is he seeing? What's he? And this guy behind me taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, I'll have what he's having. Anyway, okay. Oh, there was also the time when apparently he ran away from me as we were walking down New Street in Burlington. And what do you do when your friend automatically starts running from you? You chase him. So I started running after him, and we go down off the curb and across the street, and he does a full-end face-on across the sidewalk with his face. And he turns around, he's in this position like, no, get away from me, get away. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? And he's like, no, get away. Apparently I was like a pack of German Shepherds, or Dobermans, that's what it was, Dobermans, that were attacking him, because little did I know, again, he decided to. Okay, MSI, Negative Gain, Hype, Sons of Ishmael, Social Suicide, Problem Children, Circus Lupus, Sudden Impact, Beyond Possession, Frankie Venom and the Vipers. Ah, little ex-teenage head there. Circus Lupus, Henry Rollins Group. Circus Lupus, Sons of Ishmael, The Accused, Nothing in Particular, Hype, Rhythm Pigs, Senile Decay, MSI, Negative Gain, DOG, Groovy Religion, Gargoyles, No Means No. Oh my God, I loved living in these times. Circus Lupus, Decimation, which is X-Direct Action, Hype. Freeze were supposed to come to that show, but they got busted at the border. MSI, Sons of Ishmael, Negative Gain, Life Sentence, Nunfuckers, Corrupted Youth, Sacrifice, DRI, God Corp, DOG, Alternative Inuit, and Straight Ahead. So, somewhere in here is the show that I was telling you about. That's Straight Ahead, Sick of It All, Alternative Inuit from Montreal, and DOG from Mississauga. That was the gig where they took the microphone away from the singer. And the beauty of this, and why I say, because I was saying to Nicole, I go, it says here I've seen Straight Ahead twice, but I only remember seeing them once. There's no way that I don't remember that. She goes, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't compute, right? If you're in it, you're in it. If you're not in it, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So I had to look it up. There's the set list. April 4th, 1987, from Straight Ahead. Okay? Then I go to this bad boy right here, and it tells me that Straight Ahead had actually split up. And that's why they were a no-show. Sick of It All headlined. I had not seen them a second time. MSI, BFG, Dr. No, and Exploited. That would have been that black and white Exploited from Ildico's poster that I showed you. And then I went off to England again in '87. That was a massive time for me because I went to this gig by myself. I stayed at my cousin's place in, it doesn't matter where, and I started to learn the underground and the train system myself. Now I was not a little kid, I was 19 years old. And I went to this gig and I showed up. If anybody knows about riots and stuff like that in Britain, and they came out with an album, Turning Rebellion into Money, it was about a week or two after that. They were banned in England now, and I was going to go see them at Woolwich Polytech. What the fuck? Okay, sure. I love this band. So, City Indians, Liberty, and Conflict play the Woolwich Polytech. I show up in my DOA True Strong and Free tour shirt from '86, and everybody called me an American until I said I'm Canadian. Now I'm everybody's best friend. Before, they don't want to talk to me. And I met a shit ton of people there. I probably had 20 to 25 people sitting around me, all telling stories of their punk rock whatever. That was fantastic. I have ticket number 1 going through. I went into the show with my PETA brochures as if I'm going to preach to the converted. I left them on the tables all around the gig. I got in a lineup, and lo and behold, Steve Ignorant and Colin Jerwood are behind me. Now, I'm not going to mention any names, but I did hear a bunch of stuff from a friend/acquaintance in the past about how Colin was preppy and Colin was this and he's not that and whatever. Again, I don't care. What I hear on record, what I get from the band is inspirational, and that's my driving force. If he's wearing a pink shirt with a collar or he's dining out somewhere, I don't care. If his head and his heart's in the right place and the band is driving the forces in the right direction, that's what I care about, and that's what I cared about. So they happened to be behind me, and I went to line up, and Steve actually was the one that bought me the pint. So what was kind of cool was when he just played Toronto 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever that is now, the first thing that I said to him was, I owe you a pint. And that was a good little thing. I have a story later on that I'll share with you about that, but it was a good icebreaker to meet him again and share that. And Colin is solid. Not that it matters now, but we had a gig that I was able to negotiate with Lou and This Ain't Hollywood. It would have happened probably 2 months after they sold, something like that. That would have gone off. But unfortunately, This Ain't Hollywood got sold before that would have worked. So anyway, that's that. Oh, and of course, meeting the guys in Liberty, becoming friends, being able to go back over to England and meeting up with them. That's what it's all about. It's just the sense of community, the sense of friendship, making those connections to people. And who cares if you're in the band, you're not in the band, you make a friend for life. And that's the way I roll anyway. So here we go. September 23rd, '87 was the Pink Floyd concert. Red Cross, Big Daddy Cum Buckets, Husker Du, Scott B. Sympathy, and Big Daddy Again. So there's a funny story about this one. My sister dated a guy named Randy. Randy, if you're watching this, howdy ho. And I went to see Husker Du. Did get to meet them, which was great. And I wore my black jeans that were bleached, so black and white pants. And again, I like to mix it up a little bit, have a little bit of fun, so I decided that when they were playing, I would go and do a stage dive off RPM, I believe it was, stage. Well, I didn't know, in my infinite wisdom, that punk rock was becoming more popular, that Husker Du was more popular, and so City TV showed up. So as I go and do my stage dive and thinking that this is fantastic because I'm going to do a flying squirrel off the stage and this is fun, I land on the cameraman. So the cameraman, everything goes crashing down and gives me this big boot in the ass as we all go falling, but Randy is at home in Burlington watching City TV news with his parents, and he's like, "Oh shit, look Mom and Dad, Beeves on TV." As I crash into the TV camera. So lots of good times. That's why I always said I can be either a really good guy or I can be a dick. What am I? I don't know. How do you view me? Because everybody has their own way of looking at me. Dag Nasty, Mallet Head, No Mind, DI, Doggy Style. Okay, December 11th. First show, my first band, Brew Creation, Son of Happy, and Missing Link. No Mind, Groovy Religion, and Doughboys. MOD and Exodus. I met, what's John Lennon's son's name? Damned if I can remember it right now. Can't believe I can't remember. Julian Lennon. After the gig, our drummer, Mike Sullivan, Mikey, said, well, let's go across the street. We were at Rock and Roll Heaven? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't change the story. So we go across the street to some little thing, and there's a chalkboard outside that said, "Great show tonight, Julian." I'm like, I'm not Julian. Julian wasn't across the street, so whatever. We go inside, go to sit down, and I sit down at some spot, and next thing I know, there's like this really big guy. And he's like, "That's not happening." And I go, "What do you mean?" And this other guy goes, "Don't worry about it, just let him be." So it turns out Julian Lennon is actually sitting right beside me, and I got to talk to him. Really cool guy, really great guy. Didn't really want to talk about his dad, because of course, what do you have? You bring it up. I didn't know anything about Julian Lennon. I knew a lot about Imagine and the Beatles. So yeah, it was a fun conversation. Nonetheless, he made the most of it from some little peewee that was covered in sweat and blood and whatever from an MOD concert. Rush. Oh my God, is that Chalk Circle again? How did that happen? Problem Children, Goo Goo Dolls, Rhythm Pigs. The Anti-Guilt Parade, Henry Rollins. That would have been probably the time, I'm going to say, Jill Heath, who put on all of these shows. Jill used to date Henry Rollins and was his North American tour manager. Was a friend of mine and a friend of a lot of ours in Toronto. And so I went to the Elmo. If this is the show, and if it's not, it doesn't matter again. This happened. After Black Flag broke up, he did Hot Animal Machine, his first tour on his own. And I went to the Elmo. He had just put out a book, just had the record out. Now he's touring as the Henry Rollins Band. It wasn't Rollins, it was the Henry Rollins Band. And I walk in and she goes, "Wait here, I want you to meet somebody." And I was like, okay. You know, is his name Dave? Is it Bob? Is it Cindy? Is it, I don't know. Who am I going to meet? And the next thing I know, Henry Rollins walks out, and I'm like, she goes, "I want you two to go talk." Okay. So for an hour and a half, we got to go and hang out in the Elmo, in a booth, by ourselves, just shooting the shit. Just about experiences, life, whatever. Didn't matter. What's your dog's name? So, and some dude comes up, and he was wasted. He was off his face. He came out from upstairs. He's like, Hank, we're upstairs. We're having a drink. Why don't you come up with us, Hank? And he's like, no, it's okay. I'm okay. You know. No, come on. Me and my buddies were... No, thank you. It's okay. And I got to the point where finally, I mean, a little bit of a loose fuse maybe, but I just said, dude, he doesn't drink. Fuck off. He kind of giggled. Anyway, another moment in time. So, Pig Farm, Doughboys, all. So now Descendants are done and we're going into all. Babies with Rabies, Brew Creation, Son of Happy. So this would be our first gig together. Babies with Rabies and Brew Creation, for those that don't know, ended up becoming Hockey Teeth. Basically, me and then these guys from Babies with Rabies, and Rob was added after our first gig as our drummer. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Robert Plant. So I was previously engaged to a girl who, her grandfather was a director for the Gardens, Harold Ballard's best friend. So we got to go see any concert, any hockey game we wanted to at the Gardens. We were like so close you could see the Blackheads and Geddy Lee's nose. Like, it was unbelievable for any concert. A lot of hockey history in my my past. Her cousin married Ken Reggett, who played for the Leafs, the Flyers. Of course, I played high school hockey with Pete DeBoer and Brian Fogarty. So Hockey Teeth kind of was a pretty easy name. It was better than Tennis Elbow anyway, that was taken. But yeah, so let's move on. Where do we go from there? Dick Van Dykes and the Ramones. Yeah, I might have seen the Ramones a couple times in my life. Brew Creation, DOG, Son of Happy, Pig Farm for the ARC 2 benefit. This is where now I'm well into animal rights and trying to stand up for the underdog, the little guy, if you will, girl. Starting to get a backbone. Wild Things, Bruno Crush Rock, UK Subs, Broken Bones, Missing Link, Sudden Impact, Dag Nasty, Brew Creation, Baby with Rabies, Dayglow Abortions, Burlington. This was becoming my introduction to being a promoter at Stars, which was The Kingdom, which was, I don't know, many different names in Burlington on Plains Road and Brant Street. But that's when the first time, I guess, I met the Dayglow guys. Certainly We Got Power, Party With Me Punker was the first album that I borrowed off Crash, that I heard the Dayglow guys, and they were like the big brother that you looked up to. And yeah, that's kind of how that went. What else do we got? Pig Farm, Desperate Minds, Hype, MSI, 76% Uncertain, Adrenaline Overdose, or AOD for those that know them. I think that was at the Shanghai too. Nils, Goo Goo Dolls, and Gangrene. So this was at the Elmo, and this was not the first time that Gangrene played or Goo Goo Dolls played Toronto, but it was the first time that it ended up in a riot. So I don't know if it was Mopes, if you're watching this, howdy ho. Could have been him, could have been Larry, can't remember, but basically they were getting gobbed on by Doherty, Chris Doherty from Gangrene. All night was just gobbing on people, punk rock, yeah. And so couldn't take it back. That was another one of those learning moments. You dish it out, you better be ready to take it back. And so somebody shot some beer, water, whatever it was, through their teeth, and he pulled a Sid and DOA, clipped off his guitar strap, and clubbed him over the head with his guitar. And the next thing you know, the paddy wagons were all outside the Elmo. Cops were running in with billy clubs and clearing the place out. I remember I was talking with Robbie at that exact moment from Goo Goo Dolls and said, I hope you don't think this is indicative of Toronto. And he's like, I know, we've already played it before, which they played El Coast before. You know, we're not going to hold it against it, but it was an interesting scenario where you're in that environment and now stranger things can happen. Missing Link, Alternative Inuit. Alternative Inuit became like a really good friendship band. I used to pen pal with them. Again, pre-internet, you wrote to bands and you talked to people legitimately. I'm a terrible letter writer now that there's the internet. And if my godmother is watching this right now, she'd be like, how could he write back then, but he can't write to me now? Because, yeah, I suck. I can send you a Facebook message, but I can't manage to put a pen to paper. BSL, Brew Creation, Problem Children, Son of Happy. Brew Creation, Babies, Dead Silence. Dead Silence was a band that was from Colorado that was following, it was the American conflict, if you will, to me. A lot of principles, political aspect, backbone to them. They really wanted to make a point of why they're playing music. It wasn't just to play music, and it certainly wasn't to get rich and famous. Means to an End. The Brew Creation, Missing Link, and Jesus Chrysler. Morning Sickness, Mr. T Experience, MDC Scream. Brew Creation, Negative Gain, MDC. So we got to play with MDC in '88. That's in Hamilton. Circus Back Door. Life Sentence was supposed to play it, and luckily for us, they didn't. And we got to play with MDC and meet Dave. He was doing the Elvis thing. He was wearing the Elvis costume at that time. And it was a good time, until you got all your gear ripped off because your bandmates decided to put it in the car after their set. Doesn't make sense. Don't ever do that. Kids out there, you hear this? Don't ever put your equipment in until the end of the night. 7 Seconds and Circle Jerks. 88. So, we'll talk about that one later. The Wanted from Montreal, Uniform Choice, and Verbal Assault. Massive. Straight alert! I was straight edge for a bit. Vegetarian for a bit. Certainly all those bands played a massive influence on me. Minor Threat, Uniform Choice, 7 Seconds, fuck, you name it, Verbal Assault. One thing that caught me was the singer from Verbal Assault. I remember one gig, and he cracked a beer and he was drinking it while he played his set. He didn't pound the beers, but he had it there, and I was like, huh, how does that look? Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. What I do know is when I went to see Fugazi, which is probably coming up, I met Ian MacKay in the washroom, and I was straight edge for years, and somehow fell off the wagon and decided that night in particular was a good night to have a couple beers. So the place was packed. You couldn't get anybody. There was no elbow room. It was like you were just kind of bumping into people to make your way to the washroom. That's how tight it was. And I get into the washroom, and there's 2 urinals side by side, and you turn, you look, and there's the beanie cap kind of whatever, and you're like, oh hey. And then all of a sudden you go, dunk, because your head hits the wall, and you're like, oh fuck, I hope you didn't see that. Yeah, good times. Okay, Missing Links, Sudden Impact, Suicidal Tendencies. Okay, so here's another funny story. Love to stage dive, love to be in the pit. That's my thing, that's where my peeps are. Picking people up, throwing them over the top, or being on top and whatever. And so here you have everybody doing their thing in the Siboney, and in my little world it was funny to do somersaults across the top as if I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. What I didn't realize was that I was going in the wrong direction. I was heading towards the band, and therefore the crowd ends. So I rolled off and I landed on all of Rocky's, the lead guitar player, pedals, hit his microphone, knocked him in the teeth, and I'm lying on his pedals, looking up, going, please don't kill me. And anyway, he smiled. He thought it was really funny. He's like, just, go, have at her. Anyway, Dave Wilcox. Now, Dave Wilcox, this was 88. So Dave Wilcox now decided to clean himself up. This would have been at Stars, or whatever it was called, the Kingdom, whatever it was at that time. This is when Motley Crue did it. This is when a lot of people were doing it, starting out. And they thought that it was a good idea. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But they went from one end to the other end and decided to be straight edge. And Dave Wilcox, who played Nelson High School with a 60-pounder of whiskey coming out, and he's just ripped. Now comes out in 88, and he's straight. And that guy looked like he aged probably 20 years plus. And I remember standing like this with my foot on the stage, and he's right in front of me singing, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, you gotta start drinking and doing your drugs again, because he just looked like I don't want to make grannies feel bad about this, but like, it was just hanging off him, the skin, and you're like, oh my God, you're so old. Again, not a bad thing, but I'm just, anyway. Okay, Michelle Shocked, Weddings, Parties, Anything, and Billy Bragg. That was a fun night. That was a concert hall, and that was really cool to see because they did 2 nights back to back, and what they did with Michelle Shocked, who did, if you're an MDC fan, or a Michelle Shocked fan, maybe you don't know the two of them, but MDC did the last tune on her second record with her, Sharp Shell Shocked. And basically, Billy Bragg has always had a punk rock connection, even though he's more of a folk guy. But they did 2 nights back to back, and they switched. So one would open for the other would headline, and then they did the reverse the next night. But they would come out on stage and they would reverse. So one would play guitar and one would play violin, and then vice versa the other night. That was really cool. That was, again, one of those things, learning moment for me. I really don't care about the whole punk rock points thing and all that. So to me, that was a moment where I was like, it's just about playing, it's just about having fun, it's just about performing for the audience and giving them a sense of theater. That's always been my thing, is just to, for us, you're paying $3 or you're paying $5 to come in and see us. I'm going to do the damnedest to make sure you have a good time. So I could break my leg on stage, but did you have a good time? That was important to me. Blibber and the Rat Crushers, Sons of Ishmael, Broken Smile, and SNFU in '89. Mummy Heads, Unrest and Blast, Rocktopus, Bad Brains, Verbal Assault, Uniform Choice, and The Wanted from Montreal, Ultraman, UK Subs, MDC, Die Screaming, and Guar, Deep End, Al Nolan, how you doing, buddy? 7 Seconds, Guilt Parade, Fugazi, Lizard, COC, and DI, Flag Camp, Henry Rollins, Chemical People, Doughboys, Problem Children's, Detonators. I have a Detonator story I'll tell you later. Gangrene, Social Distortion. Okay, so this is a funny one. Again, I don't know. I've seen Social Distortion a few times. So, but I told you the Gangrene story, right? Chris Doherty being a little bit of a pussy pants when it came to getting gobbed on. Like, stop spitting on people in the first place then. Whatever. But social distortion. So again, Symphony Club, rolling around on top of people, and I come down and I bump the microphone stand. It hits Mike Ness in the teeth, and he gets pissed. So he ends up leaving and says, I'm not coming back until everybody stops slam dancing. So you go, well, hold on a minute now. We're at a punk rock gig and nobody is supposed to slam dance. Okay, that's actually funny. I just thought of something. Today's times, nobody seems to slam dance, especially local shows, and all I want them to do is, could I throw a firecracker under you and get you guys to move? But at the same time, back then, in my brain, it was like, it's so out of the norm to not actually slam dance. So you just want us to stand here with our arms like this, like this? This is fun. Cool. So he wouldn't come out, and he waited like 15 minutes, which seems like an eternity, to end up coming back out again, and ended up getting the mic back in the face. But he was cool about it. What I didn't realize was that it was like the night before, or within that week before, he had played Vancouver, and I didn't realize Mike Ness has a black belt. But I was like, what's he gonna do about it? And apparently in Vancouver, he literally just went to some guy in the crowd and took him out with with a kick, because he was being a dick, and I had no idea that he had a black belt. It doesn't make a difference, I guess, but an interesting scenario. Going back to the Gangrene one, what I forgot to mention was Doherty didn't come back out. He had one of his roadies actually pick up his guitar, and he finished the set because Pussy Pants didn't want to come out and play. So, as much as I love Gangrene, I frickin' love them. I skateboard. I was all about that. But I lost a little bit of respect, or whatever that word is, where I thought, I mean, come on, it's punk rock. Aren't we supposed to be tougher than the rock and roll guy, and aren't we supposed to just have at her, just keep going until the set's done, hit the last song, thanks very much, whatever, and you're out. Drop your instruments, let them feed back, do whatever you need to do, but move on. Okay, 4.5 reasons for retroactive abortion and poison idea. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the stuff about the poison idea gig. It's been well documented in these by Stronger Than Ever videos. I will say, as you say, what got me into this, crass, how much more bullshit can you take out of every bloody head? This was in '87 when I was in England. I picked up from Conflict, get out there and show them your anger. And their laws and ours and whatever. I did manage to grab the booklet for Ungovernable Force while I was out there, because they said you got to mail away for it. I managed to pick it up. All that led into the DIY stuff with Crass saying just make your own shirts, why bother paying anybody money, iron-ons, just whatever. I really got into promoting shows and doing benefits for this one in particular was Community Unity Food Bank. That's actually the tape cover. I wrote away to all these bands, the Hard-Ons in Australia, Alternative Inuit in Montreal, Cowboy Killers, South Wales, Babies with Rabies in Toronto, Dead Suspects in California, My Band in Burlington, Majority of One in Ohio, and Pestilence, Ian Carroll, Huddy Ho. And I do realize what I just did there. In Burlington, and so we did a benefit gig. I used to rent because there was no clubs that would allow punk rock, so again it was DIY, pay to play. I would rent roller gardens on Harvester. This is in '89 or something, whatever it was. I don't remember. 89 or, yeah, because 87 we just started out, so this probably was 89. And literally I was doing benefits for the food bank, so we would do clothing drives, food drives. Hamilton Spectator came out, they put me on the front cover of the Spec and did a whole interview, rah rah rah. Problem Children, Babies Rabies, and the Turd Burglars, which the singer from the Turd Burglars now is the drummer from SAF. I made him go on a 20 or 30 year hiatus and bring him back as a drummer. But that's where I started to get really involved in between the Stars shows with Dayglow and these types of things, was doing a lot for benefits to try and benefit the underdog. I had a job, I had a house over my head in my mom's house. I had clothes on my back, but there was those people in the world that didn't. So it was vitally important for me to try and give back to those in need. Simple as that. I remember going down when Burl Oak at the time was, Oakville and Burlington were well-to-do. At the time, Oakville was the upper crust over Burlington, whatever. My girlfriend, which is now my wife, at the time lived in Oakville, and so I would pass by Burl Oak, and it was like kind of going through this dividing line where it was those in need. So I had this 100-gallon fish tank that I used to breed fish and whatever, just for fun and give them away to friends and for myself, I don't know. And when I got out of it, I said, well, you know, what am I going to do with all this stuff? So I packed it away in the basement, and for whatever reason I went down, oh, I know what it was. I went to the lady for Community Unity Food Bank, lived down off Burl Oak, and I met this little kid, and the kid was like snot-nosed, teeny little kid. And for whatever reason, I pulled the car over and I said, I just started a conversation with this young child and said, you know, what do you like? How's life? However that went. And he said, good, blah, blah, blah. Do you like animals? I said, yeah, I like fish. You like fish? Really? Yeah, I like fish. Well, I have a 35, a 25, and a 100-gallon tank with full filtration systems actually in the back of my car. Do you want them? And he's like, sure. Let's clear this with your mom. So we went to his house and said, I understand your son likes, oh my God, he really loves fish. Would you like this? And literally pulled it out of my car and dropped it on her front doorstep and moved on. So here's the actual flyer from that, from 60-minute comp. $7, $10 for a tape and ticket, $1 off for food, clothing, donations. There you go. March 9th, 89. Scooters, roller gardens. No booze, no drugs. After that, where did we go? We went to, well, yeah, I'm going to just keep going here. Again, that's what got me into it. It just rolled on to the anti-fascist stuff. This one was funny. SAF played Doors Pub. And a friend of mine sold me this, Punk Time is Dead, get to shows on time. Because really, I mean, if you're going to see a punk show and you're paying $10, why are you paying $10 to go see the last band? Or if you're priming all your beers at home, why are you doing it until 11 o'clock and coming out to see the last two bands? Come out and see all of the bands. That's what you're doing. That's what everybody's hoping for. Those opening bands are relying on you as a punk fan, as a person who likes music, to be in front of them and share in their experience so you can both feed off each other and then get to know them. Just meet each other and move on. So we had a lot of stuff in the, well, 90s if you want, whatever. I mean, obviously earlier than that too, but these were things that were put out. Hockey Teeth was the first band to do an ARA benefit in Toronto, is what we got told. We did that at Sneaky D's. Nice feeling, but did it change anything? That's more important. And, you know, it is what it is. It's today's world. Here's another, keep fighting, that's my point. Here's another one that I put on. My really good friends from Submachine in Pittsburgh, Random Killing. I was their practice singer, I'll get to that later. Armed and Hammered, of course, and my band after Hockey Teeth was put to shame. So this is the Dungeon, which is now long gone. That was a dentist's office in Oshawa. But that was one of the gigs that I put on too. And then finally getting there, this was the flyer for the Poison Idea show way back at the Siboney. Sorry, I'm just catching up on the pile here as I ramble over here. I got to meet Pig Champion, Tom, at this show. Got to go on his minibus, their tour bus. Silver bus with like bench seats, just like a mini school bus. He's drinking a big ass bottle of something straight. Fantastic gentleman to sit and chew the fat with. I didn't get to meet Jerry at that time, but to watch them come out and play, and then the whole thing of the fire, I had my foot on the stage. I think the one thing, I'm not sure if it was in everybody's comments, was the fact that Siboney had 2 roofs heights, so Jerry was looking out this way, he would have been looking out that way, so when he went to breathe his fire and go, he didn't realize that the roof level above him was substantially lower, and when it hit that roof it just blew back at him, and so all the smoldering flames, he fell on the ground right in front of me, and all those little balls of fire were literally either landing on him or landing around him and popping on the carpet as he was lying there. And Pig, he played 2-3 songs standing up, and then the rest of the show, because he was such a big guy, they brought a chair out for him and played. Fortunately for me, Hockey Teeth got to play with Poison Idea 5 years, whatever it was, later. That's when I got to meet and get to know Jerry, and got to go down the States in Pittsburgh with my Submachine buddies to a Skull Fest, and I got a story about that later, and be able to continue that relationship, whatever, shoot the shit. Where were we? Kingpin, Flag Camp, Bad Religion, One Blood, Noi Polloi, Gorilla, and the Wongs. So, most people know that after SNFU broke up, Chai went into the Wongs, and Biff Naked was the singer for Gorilla. Biff Naked is actually now back. My understanding, she's back in Toronto, and going to continue with a solo career, which is fantastic, or has been, but has decided to elevate it, if that's the right way of putting it. Hugely fantastic people. The guitar player in that band actually played in SNFU on the last go round. A lot of history in these bands, so members come and go, but a lot of the time a lot of the focus gets put on the singer, or a famous drummer, famous guitar player, and everybody else kind of gets forgotten. But these bands kind of go round and round, and if I use John Card as an example, I mean, that guy has played in some seriously fantastic freaking bands. So get on Google, it's available now on the internet. So get on those things and just find out who these people really are, because it's not all about the singer, it's not all about the guitar player or the drummer, it's about the band, and then it's certainly about the values, it's about where they've been and where they're going. Sam I Am, Snuff, 9 Pound Hammer, Random Killing, Aversion, GBH, Biohazard, Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, and Buffalo. This one was a 91, and I went down there with Amance, my roommate, former bandmate, best mate, Craig Henshelwood, Krieger, Mike Robinson. We all grew up together, known each other since we were 15 years old in Burlington. And we get down there, and a couple parking lot pops, whatever, go inside, and I'm never a metal guy. I've never really been a metal guy. The only metal guy I've been is, I guess, snorting whiskey, drinking cocaine, whatever. If that's Pat Travers is metal, Yeah, okay, a couple little Aussie tunes here and there. Dio, song here or there, Mob Rules, I had that album. But it wasn't until Giz joined Giz Butt from the English Dogs. He also played in Prodigy. Anyway, and ultimately, once that Forward into Battle English Dogs album came out, that second album, that's when I became more into metal, or recognized metal, I suppose. I never really understood it. I'll never claim to. It's never been my thing. Punk and hardcore has been my thing, or even just rock and roll, AC/DC. But anyway, so Biohazard plays, and I thought they were junk because I'm not a metal guy. All night we listened to no slam dancing, no stage diving, check out the merch in the hallway, over and over again on repeat. I was so sick and tired of listening to it that pretty much sick of it all went on, and by the second note I did a backflip off the stage, and 5 guys had me up in the air with my legs kicking, and they were walking me out the door. And I was like, well, hang on, I'm from Toronto. You can't do this, as if that's supposed to do anything. And so they said, okay, we'll make a concession, but you can stand here in the corner with the dunce cap on, and you can watch the gig from here. So at least I didn't have to get thrown out of the club. I was allowed to watch it from the corner. Craig laughed his ass all the way home at me, but again, it is what it is. I just want to have fun and just get out there and, you know, be in the pit. But it was the merch aspect and buy our merchandise and no slam damming. Don't tell me what to do. Just wasn't exactly punk rock to me. So the next night they played in Toronto. Sick of It All, Agnostic Front. Sick of It All. Anyway, Rhythm Pigs. They did a reunion tour at Lee's, Gwar, Goo Goo Dolls, Nagalhide. Easy for me to say. 5, The Sinisters, Red Cross, Rocktopus, Lunatics, Bad Religion, Tragically Hip. So that was up to 91. Sorry about the blah blah blahs. If you like punk rock, maybe some of those names would be exciting to you. Maybe some of the stories were too long. But I'll just give you an idea, again, going back to how spoiled we were. If I go back to, like, I just documented one here. In '88, in May, how old would I have been? I would have been 20. I would have been 20 years old. I'm 54 now, so 34 years ago. I went out on May 4th, 5th, 8th, 10th, 14th, 17th, 20th, 22nd, and 28th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Probably 15 times or something like that. Out of a month, I was out watching gigs or playing in gigs. I mean, to me, that's fantastic. That to me was life. I'm going to share with you some of the things, set lists that I got over the years. That would be Dag Nasty. I guess the other question would be, what keeps me doing this? So what got me into this? What was the influence? Why am I here? Blah, blah, blah. I'm here because of this stuff. It's because of the music, because of being out in the environment. It's because of being in front of the people, the friends, the community that I've been fortunate enough to make, hang out with. A lot of good friends. That's Down by Law. Here's a beauty. This would be Off. Actually, that's Black Flag. Depression. My War, or sorry, that's Flag. Can't say it's Black Flag, but look at the footprints all over it. The destruction. I mean, come on. How can it get any better than that? Not get any better than that. City Indians from '87 in England. There's actually a really good story too. I'll share it with you quickly. So as DOA said about being in the pit, and it's not a man's or a woman's thing, it's like for everybody. It's not about destructo and trying to hurt somebody, which, you know, people don't get. They think you're just gonna crush somebody and you're just trying to hurt each other. That's not the way it actually goes down if you're in the pit. Yes, sometimes it happens. I won't say that that's no. Depends which side of the coin I suppose you're on. But the intent is not necessarily there. And so when I was watching Conflict, everybody was pogoing at that time. And this is still in '87. Over here, we were already through the slam dancing and into the circle pits. And now I go there and I'm trying to circle pit around people that are pogoing. And it was kind of like me talking to a person from a foreign country. We couldn't communicate together. So the 20 or whatever people that are out there, there was one dude named Gavin that I met on the front steps, comes up to me and he throws his arm around me as I'm like, all right, let's go. We're going around this pit. And he's like, is that you out there being crazy? What are you doing? And I'm like, this is life, buddy. This is what it's all about back home. So that turns now into, never mind pogoing, it turned into a slam pit, which is, again, I'm good with it. I'm used to that. And the crowd's going like this. So now I go forward, get tripped, I land on the stage. There's a girl with her back on the stage. I'm on top of her with my hands holding me up like this. There's a guy on my back. Now another guy on his back. I had at least 3 people on top of me in a push-up position over top of this poor girl. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold them off. I'm trying to hold them off. And what does she do? She tells me to go fuck myself, picks up her boot and boots me right in the nuts. I'm like, okay. Down I go. I didn't know what to do with that one. I took a couple hits to the stomach, but when she hit me in the nuts, I couldn't do any more for that one. Steve Ignorant, Last Supper, Crass Songs. There's one for you, Steve. Cockney Rejects. Beautiful. Oi Polloi, DOA, Casualties. We played with the Casualties at Punkfest '94, actually. That was good. That was before they were the Casualties. Slaughter and the Dogs, Dead Boys. Signed set list from all the guys. That was great. Got to see The Damned a lot. So there's a Damned one. Here's one from Dave Vanian, signed to Mark. Rest in peace. Thank you. May I not die tomorrow. So here's one from France, from Captain Sensible. Dear Mark, buy me a beer, you vile tightwad, Captain Sensible. And the funny story about that is when I got Vanian to sign this one, I walked up to Sensible and I said, I tried to recant the story and tell him about in France, you signed the set list, there was like 10 people there, would you be whatever? And I got about as far as that, and he's like, can you not see I'm trying to chat up this bird? How rude! Like that, and walks away. And I was like, what? Seriously? How rude? My mom tells me that, or my granny. Not my punk rock icon doesn't call me rude. Anyway, just different ways of seeing things in life. SNFU. Oh, there's your Northern Pikes, 86. 2 pages. Look at the hits. Dead Kennedys. Random Killing, 30th anniversary. GBH, nicely signed. Back in 85, Subs, Exploited, and GBH all signed my tickets. What I really got out of this, and I really thank you again for allowing me to do this, and if you're actually still watching, thanks for watching, because this is my life. Like, music is my life. Whether I'm playing violin at the age of 3, I think I was singing at 2. I sang professionally in the choirs in Christchurch Cathedral by the time I was 14. Punk rock is what I turned to deal with whatever was in front of me at the time. But it doesn't mean it's my only foray in music. I listen to a lot of different styles. I love music. Never really been a big house guy or rap guy, that part. But in terms of actual rock and roll or punk rock, or I guess even to some of the metal, hardcore for sure. It's just been, it's encompassing for me. There's just so much to it, and the friendships, and again the community, and the helping people that need help by doing all the different benefits that that I've played. I got a career, I got a job. It's more important to help somebody else. So you and I met at this one. That was MDC's set list in Buffalo. Of course, got to see the Addicts a couple times. This was the one from Toronto, and their set list from there. And I do have one of these all signed by the whole band, all in metallic. Yay me. But going back, okay, so should we, let's move on to another question. What are my favorite shows that I've seen or played? Refer back to previous mentioned things, and honestly, it's going to be the show that I'm going to play next week, or the week after, the month after. I'm going to see the month after that. I'm just going to keep moving forward. Past and current bands. Past bands, my first band, The Brute Creation, would have been around from 86, 87. I met Mike at school in 86. First gig was in 87. We went to about 91. Hockey Teeth, that was my next band, started in 92. We went to 97, had a hiatus, still play whenever asked. We're at our 30th anniversary now. After that went into Put to Shame out of Guelph. Put to Shame would have been around 98 to 2003 range. After that would have gone to Meh out of Hamilton with Crash, Jay, Brian, and Mark Datsky. Fucked if I know. Dates don't matter. Who gives a shit? After Meh, that would have gone to probably Peace Corps, which there is a Peace Corps out of the States, but you know what? We were a cover band, so why not steal a name and make a cover? That Peace Corps turned into Stand Against Fear, otherwise known as SAF, out of Guelph again, and that's current. That's my current band. Basically, whenever Hockey Teeth is asked to play a gig, or SAF, we're playing as much as we can. In between all that stuff, I have played, I did play in Dirty Bird for about 6 months, thereabouts, after Glenn passed. It was awkward, difficult with the politics of his passing, and the band trying to carry on. So, couldn't do it. Wasn't very good at it, let's be honest. Too many angles, people coming at me, and band expectations, and my own expectations. Let's just say I sucked. Also in there, random killing, practice singer. Drew moved to Montreal, And so in order for me to hang out with my friends, I had asked them, would it be okay if I came and jammed with you? So I did that for probably a couple years, thereabouts, year or two anyway. This is Elsie, the white German Shepherd dog. So I had to get that approved by Drew to make sure that everything was good. Last thing I want is a friend to think that I'm moving in and trying to steal his band, if I even could do that over Drew. But the reality was I like everybody to know what's going on. It's all about communication. Friendship is friendship. And he was cool with that after talking about it. Everything was good, and then also got the opportunity to sing for Dragged In when Patty had a Brutal Youth tour booked in Europe, and they got the opportunity to play with Dag Nasty at the Velvet Underground. They asked me if I would fill in to sing for them, which absolutely. Favorite Toronto band, and certainly I've seen Dag Nasty several times. So that was fantastic. Got to meet Brian Baker and Colin Sears, who played in Alloy, which was one of my favorite bands growing up. So a lot of punk rock history. All right, the craziest show stuff that I've seen in punk rock. I already told you about the gig with the Descendants and a Noop, and bringing my East Indian friend to a skinhead stag and doe party. That was the set list in '87 from the Descendants. Now I'm going to take you back in time to grade 6 for myself. Some of the moments in my life that were momentous occasions, if you will. This is 1976-77. I went to a private school in Hamilton, and I went to a private school in Hamilton because probably never would have got into punk rock, I'm going to guess, if my dad hadn't passed as a young lad. But he did. And when that happened, everything changed, and my mom sent me to a private school because I became a pain in the ass in order to give me some structure to try and control my anger, because all the friends and everybody who said they'd be there for my mom disappeared when my dad passed. I understand now as an adult that that can be very difficult to try and understand, deal with, try and help in whatever way they can. But at the time, as a young boy, when they disappeared, I decided that he was my best friend and he was gone. And I remember his words in the hospital as the nurse was holding me horizontally, holding onto the door frame. "You're the man of the family. Take care of the women. Take care of the girls. Do that." I'm 8 years old. Okay? Thanks for that, Dad. There's no right or wrong, but that was my reality. So I got sent to a private school. In grade 6, every year, we would do this thing called Grub Day. Now, I'd been to England in '75 when he passed away, which, if you've watched this thing, you would know that my cousin introduced me to punk rock, and certainly there was Crash and other friends that introduced me to punk rock. And so in grade 6, I decided on Grub Day I would dress up as a punk rocker. In '76, '77, I would have been about 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. And with the help of my older sister, I wore a shirt which had a guy behind bars, whatever that means, behind bars as if he was "let me out," with stitching down the sides of it. And on the back I had a Clash and a Sex Pistols logos and whatever. I had my hair as spiked as I could possibly get it. And my teacher in grade 6, Mrs. Leroy, had told me that I was unfit to be there. So Fast forward to probably grade 9. I don't know how many punks there were in our school because, again, it's a private school, but I will say that there was 3 of us that made ourselves visible with mohawks and skinheads by about grade 9, grade 10. And so we had another, we had a school dance on that one actually, first one. And we had a football coach, sorry, this is grade 12. We would have had a grade 12, we would have a football coach who was a running back for the Toronto Argos and became our football coach. I remember walking up to the DJ and saying, "Would you please play this tape?" Those kids out there that don't know what that is, but anyway. It was Army Style by The Exploited. And I said, "Would you please play?" I knew it was going to clear the dance floor and the Billy Idols and Dancing by Myself. But ultimately, the 3 of us just went have at her. As soon as that guy started playing it, we just started slamming. And out comes my football coach, grabs me by whatever he could get, and throws me across the floor, sliding straight into a brick wall. Oh, wow. Okay, this is how adults deal with a bunch of teens who are just out having fun. Interesting stuff. So that was the second one. Then we had another grub day on my graduating year in 85, 86. And I went with my mohawk up, red and black stripes all the way down. Who did the video? One Way System? It was Come On Feel the Noise anyway. Quiet Riot or One Way System. I'm going to guess One Way System. Oh my God. This thing was a thing of beauty in my eyes. It was perfect. There was no messing with this mode. My mom called it a coxcomb, the old rooster. And so I got there, and Derek Wiley, our head of boys' school, decided that he had tried 3 times throughout my years at school to kick me out, that I was unfit to be there. So he said, "This is grub day, not punk day, and you got to get out of here." And I was like, "I'm dressing up like a punk rocker." He says, "You wear that every day." So, no, you should have come with something else. So I went to the showers, I washed it out and teased it up, and I came back spray painted in chrome silver with it in every which direction. At that point, he kicked me off grounds, and that was it. He actually kicked me off grounds on my actual graduation day and sent me out. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So there's some craziest moments in my life personally. Beyond that, I will then go to Toronto. I was at Ildeco's. I went to go see Murphy's Law and Agnostic Front sometime in the 90s, late 80s. And I remember being out in the pit and saying, "Okay, I gotta go take a leak." Going to the washroom, and some dude was like ripping the sinks off the wall, and water was spewing everywhere. And I kind of went into the washroom as if to say, "WTF?" And he basically pulled a knife on me. At that point, I said, "Not worth it." So I went, washroom came out, went straight down the stairs, and I go out on the street, and as I walk out on the street, there's a street fight going on, and I go to step into whatever's going on, and a guy goes and lifts his shirt and shows me a handgun in his pants. At that point, I realized things are different. This isn't the same deal that we all used to say, let our fists deal with it, macho, call it whatever you want to call it, but we had elevated to different levels to try and get our point across. Not worth it. Took a break, I think, from that point because it just wasn't the same, and wasn't worth it to me to deal with that. So after that, or somewhere in there, I went to go see this band called the Adolescents, from California. They played the Elmo. And if you understood Toronto at that time, it was, it still is, very tight scene. So while the guys, the crowd, because there was about 25 of us at the Adolescents, went to go see a local show at Ildico's. There was about 25 of us thereabouts that got to enjoy the Adolescents at the Elmo. And Tony Cadena had done this frickin' move, and I stole it. I literally stole it at Call the Office in London. Loved the move. The beauty for me was I didn't experience what he did. You jump off stage, there's a pillar in front of the stage, and you do a 180 and you grab onto the pillar while you're singing, holding yourself upside down. Okay? Don't know how it happens, no clue. I can't do it if I tried. I managed it one time at Call the Office. In Tony's case, Tony didn't recognize that there was a nail sticking out of the pillar, and he put it right through his eye. So now he comes out of there and he's spitting blood everywhere. He had all these white towels that turned red as fast as whatever. And literally he was gone. And ended up, wasn't DeSoto, somebody else came in to end up singing the rest of the set. That was pretty crazy. Told you all the other stories in all the gig stuff, whatever. Punkfest 94. So I'm playing with Hockey Teeth in Punkfest 94. Fantastic lineup. The place was packed. I mean, it was see Chico's recollections and whatever. Really, really good time at those things. In this case, we were supposed to go on at 9 o'clock, and Thor, who did a radio show at U of T, I believe it was. Anyways, called Thor and His Rented Lips, Leather Shorts. He emceed it. So he would come out and he would basically say, "Hockey Teeth, keep drinking. Hockey Teeth, keep drinking." So I remember I had this cooler that I was sitting on, and you were in a bowl looking down at the two stages. One was set up and tear down, the other was play, and they would just rotate them. So there was no downtime whatsoever. And stood up, and basically my cooler lid went up. I sat down, I got somebody's arm in it who had been actually helping himself to my cooler, and we go on at 12 o'clock. I have no recollection how I had a Klan's costume with a 12-inch dildo coming from my head representing dickhead for if you're a supporter of the KKK. But I had a backup plan. I've never ever worn or had a backup plan for one of my costumes. My whole thing in Hockey Teeth was that I can wear one costume one time. I cannot wear it a second time in the same city. I can wear it in another city, but I can't do it in Toronto. Those were my own internal rules. So I had worn that in Toronto, but never in Marmora, Ontario. So for some reason, I brought a kid's pool. I brought water wingies, those little orange inflatable things. And I found water on a 200-acre farm out in the middle of nowhere of the bush and filled this pool up with water. So we had a couple beers all day. At 9 o'clock we were ready to go. That didn't happen. 3 hours later we hit the stage. Dan, our guitar player, had the set list written in his back in sunscreen, which got burned into his back. And he played the second song first, and I don't even know if he made it to the second song. We had to flip him over to find out what was actually on the set list. The crowd ripped my Klan costume off after the first song. I had this little pair of underwear that said "Puck You" on it, which was Peter Peter Puck on my underwear, and that went after, I believe, about the second note of the second song. So now I'm buck naked, doing stage dive onto the crowd. There's hay and everything else and mud hanging all over me. Our female bass player is looking after me and going, oh my God, oh my God, with this nice piece of straw hanging out of my backside. So, yeah, good times. That was pretty crazy. Then we make our, sang from the kids' wading pool with the water wingies on. I don't know if you can get electrocuted from singing with a microphone in a pool, but couldn't find my backup clothes or even my clothes to change, so that became the pool. I have no idea how that all happened, but that happened. And then I go back to our tent to find two people enjoying themselves in my tent, and I'm with my buddy Roddy. Hello, Roddy. Who says, "Oh, hello, Beef. You can't get in your tent. Let me help." So he decides to pull out a knife and make a back door to the tent, which I had already opened to find the two people. I'm like, you idiot! Anyway, good times. Hung out with Oz Rotten and Submachine for the rest of the night. It was just, those things were fantastic. Good times. Okay, so beyond that, then the next one is a fun one for me. Oh, it's actually this one. I went to go see this band. You might have heard of them. Motorhead. Apparently I've seen Hatebreed. Missed that completely. And the Dropkick Murphys. So I've got to be invited from Ken Casey to go see his Fighters and stuff like that. Got to know him a little bit. But way back when, this is when Al Barr actually joined the band, the first time for them to come around, Do or Die. And at the gig in Kitchener, I want to say the lyric, if I'm right. Anyway, we're in Kitchener with my buddy Terry, Skip. And so I remember saying to Terry, there's nobody in the pit for Hatebreed. There's nobody in the pit for Dropkick. Motorhead's now playing. And I'm like, as if I'm anybody, I said, I better go out there before these guys die. Before they kick it, I better go see them and actually be in front of them. And he goes, okay, go have fun. So I go walking down, I walk out into the pit, and immediately some dude in a university football jacket goes down and comes screaming at me. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Oh, here comes another guy. He's down. Like that. Next thing I know, I'm up in the air again. Hello, Buffalo. It's the same deal. And I'm starting to say, angelic upstarts, small town, small mind. I have no interest in fighting. I'm just here to watch the band. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to. And the guy starts patting me on the back, one of them. He walks me up to the front and he goes, we've been waiting for somebody to do that all night. And I'm like, what? You're not going to throw me out? I look back. The other two are getting escorted out the front door and they walk up. The security across the stage splits and the guy goes, get up there. And I go, what do you mean? Get up there. Okay. I'm now on the stage. I'm sitting like this, looking up, and there's Lemmy right in front of him with a monitor, a mic stand, his chair and his fan. He looks down at me, he winks and smiles. Well, this is more of a grin. And I was like, oh my God, I can die now. That, to me, was a pretty freaking crazy thing. The floor filled in and everybody was dancing. Guys were hugging their girlfriends. The girls were doing their thing. That was the best. All right, what else have I got here before we wrap up? Oh, I want to share another one with you. This was kind of a cool one. Actually, before I do that one, let's do this one. So, there was a Dayglow show in Meh. We played in at City Lights in St. Catharines. So, went to go see those, hang out with the Dayglow guys. Hey guys, if you're watching this. I knew that Kevin Seconds was doing a solo tour just down the road, like literally a block down the road. So, in between bands, I went down, saw Kevin. He's like, "Hey Mark, how's it going? Great, great. You know, down with the Dayglow guys. Dayglow guys, oh, I love them. We played with them at, yeah, do you want to come up while you're not doing anything?" He's like, "Sure." So Kev comes up, and we went, and I'm like, "Hey guys, Kevin, yeah." So they got to meet each other, got to shoot the shit. They're both touring, and you know, it was nice. It was a fun thing to be the liaison thing. It wasn't yay Mark show or pat on the backs, whatever. It was just really fascinating that they hadn't played in a bunch of years, and because some clown walks up and says, "Do you want to do this, and can you want to whatever," that they got to actually shoot the shit, regurgitate some memories, whatever, and then both played their respective sets. So that was a lot of fun to me. The other one, and last one I guess I'll do, is 1991 in Guelph. Dayglow were doing the Three Dogs Fucking tour, and they had NoFX open up. I believe it was the NoFX first time they'd been. I got to sit at NoFX table for the night. Pat Mike spent most of his time with his now ex-wife, I believe, on the phone, doing his tour thing, responsible thing. But I got to hang out with the other guys, and that was really cool. And so my job that I took upon myself was to keep their glasses full, and in doing so they paid me in merch. So they gave me Liberal Animation was the record that was out at the time. Ripped hadn't come out yet. And so, or at least I know. And so basically they gave me the album, they gave me posters, they gave me whatever they possibly could. And at the end of it, of all the merch, basically said, "Well, this is all we've got, this super big demo." And I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" "Well, it's a band called Section 8. "Well, who's Section 8? And they said, "I don't know, some band." I gotta be democratic, diplomatic, whatever the right word is about this. "It's some band we played with last night." I said, "Okay, are they any good?" "I don't know. Some band, we take the, you know, kid, take the tape home." "Okay, thanks." So I take the tape home, and yeah. In '94, I moved to Acton. New house, painting the walls, and I had said to Rob, our drummer, who drums for Random Killing, Hockey Teeth, I had said, "Hey, at the Hockey Teeth house, you got that CD there. I've heard of them, but I've never heard any of their stuff before." He goes, "Oh yeah, you want to borrow it? Go ahead, take it." Perfect. Pop it in the old CD player, doing my W's on the wall. This song, Beer Goggles, comes on, and I'm singing every freaking word. And I'm like, "Whoa, hold on a minute now. How could I know the words to this song when I've never heard these guys before?" Next song comes on, basically all the way through the CD. I sang the whole thing verbatim. I'm like, how's that even possible when I've never heard of these guys? Longer story shorter, the reality is that Section 8 became Lagwagon, the largest selling record of records on Fat Records at that time. And I was like, I recanted the conversation in my head, and it's like some band that we played with last night. Anyway, that was pretty freaking crazy. What I like most about being a musician? Well, first of all, I've gone beyond musician. I've been a promoter, set up shows, I've run my own zine, done interviews with bands around the world. I've done a million is an over-exaggeration, but a lot of benefits for the benefit of others within different communities, not only my own, but many others. So being a musician allows me to give back to those in need, and that's what I love. I love the fact that people benefit from me putting in a little bit of effort. It's not a lot of hard work, it's a bit of effort, a bit of elbow grease, and if I do it right and I invite the right people and we promote it in the right way, we all come together, everybody puts in a little bit of work. It's not a lot of hard work because everybody's working together to do better for others. That's what I like. In terms of the music itself, I'm just a bit player. I'm a guy who just gets up and jumps around and does a lot of stage antics. Sometimes, if you even want to call it singing, mostly screaming and yelling in a microphone and rolling around. Hopefully giving people theatrics and a good time. I feed off the crowd. I've learned that from a young age, from the bands I've seen and the bands I've listened to. Certainly it's all about theater for me in terms of the stage performance, and for your $3, I hope you really had a good time, or $10 in today's dollars if that's what it is. I've broken my legs on stage. I've gone to work for 4 months with bandages wrapped up around my legs so I could actually be able to do that. I've broken heels, wrists, you name it, all in the name of entertainment, but that's what's fun to me. I don't know, some people might call that absolutely ludicrous, but to me it's all about having a good time and giving somebody that opportunity to see. In terms of songwriting and musical content, I don't think there's any more higher compliment than having an individual come up to you and saying that they were in the act of committing suicide when one of your songs came on. That was intense. So that doesn't matter the year, date, whatever, band, who cares. When somebody tells you that they're at their end and they're going to try and end their life, and then they hear your song and they decided to stop because that song came on, that's powerful shit. And when the guy told me, all I could do was hug him and say, I'm so glad you're still here with us. I appreciate you, and thank you for not doing it. He thanked me. So that leads to the next one about the camaraderie, the friendships, the reason why we're all here together, trying to make our way through sometimes a shitty lifestyle, a shitty life, stupid Ukraine and Russia garbage going on that they have no right to be there. They did not do anything to do that. And we all got to figure out how to back that and support that. And then, of course, the pandemic, and how to figure out how to get two opposing sides now, if we're so lucky that we can put this thing back together on the rails of how to all get along. So in life, music has taught me that there's many sides to a certain coin. I've tried to share that throughout this interview, that people have different ways of looking at things differently, you've all got a stick handle and make your way through this thing. And hopefully at the end we find some kind of way to actually make that work, where we all win the game. Punk rock for me and hardcore all started out in order to get my frustrations out, because I was a young kid losing my best friend at an early age. That became political, conflict, crass, you name it, Poison Girls, it doesn't matter, DOA. You could name just about any band. You could even say Dayglow. They have their politics, as much as you think that Dog Farts is, oh my God. The reality is, Proud to be Canadian makes a point. So you just have to be smart enough to read between the lines and figure that out, that there are things that people are saying within their lyrics. So meeting new friends, making new friends, traveling to new places, touring around, not preaching to the converted. When I started out on my first band, I was extremely preachy. I followed along the lines with the Chumbawamba, why are we preaching to the converted, and blah, 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 blah. So then it became a little more humor than it did politics. But the politics were in the lyrics, and the politics were never far from the bands, or if you ever got to talk to me or know me, you would know where I stand on different stances, whether they be anti-racist, anti-sexist, animal rights, you know, female rights. It doesn't matter. And if you want to call me a softie, a left wing, a this, that, and the other, sure, have at her. I'm good with it. You're not going to put a dent in my armor. I've had enough of those. I listened to it all the way through high school about friends who would say, like, that's shit. Why are you listening to that? As I try and introduce them to something. And then a year or two later, they're like, oh my God, have you ever heard The Jam? You should hear this song. And I'm like, I played that for you a year ago or 2 years ago. Oh my God, The Clash. Have you ever heard this? I'm onto this now. Your music sounds like pots banging with wooden spoons. Really? Well, your music sounds like shit too. So, whatever. I had a friend who was an industrial guy. God love him. We get in my car, and my mom's car, and drive somewhere. At the time, the Mohawk was too big, so she had it wasn't an expensive car, but it had a sunroof, and I would literally have to turn my head like that so the hair could go up through the roof, and I'd be like, what do you want to listen to? And you go, I don't know, put something on. I go, I can't, I'm driving. What do you want to listen to? Oh, I want to listen to industrial. Whatever. So he would find 2 stations and he'd put it through and you just hear. And I'm like, what are we listening to? And he goes, fantastic. And you're like, shit. Anyway, so everybody has their way. And honestly, it's not for me to say what you're supposed to do, who you're supposed to be. My life was, you know, if I said, Steve, do you want something to eat? Mom, the meatloaf! The meatloaf! Mom, the meatloaf! You want meatloaf? You want ketchup on it, don't you? He wants ketchup on it! You want coconut? He likes coconut! He wants this! And meanwhile, you'd be saying, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. He wants that! That's how my life was. I had a mom who told me all I care about is me. And when I went to school, I had an English teacher, female English teacher, who said, all you care about is everybody else. Why don't you care about yourself and spend time? Oh my God, like, I'm stuck between 2 worlds. I don't know who to be and how to be because you guys are all trying to figure me out. The beauty was, I'll even give you this. When I went to see Steve Ignorant, I showed him this, and I said, this is the book that got my English teacher off my ass. I gave her this, and I said, you want to figure me out? In a very confrontational voice, read this! And I handed it to her, and she read it, and she came back the next day and she goes, okay, I think I got you. Steve to me said, thank you. So, you know, stop trying to figure everybody out or think you know who somebody is or whatever. Just live your life for you and leave everybody else the fuck alone so they can live their own life. Beyond that, that's about it. So now I'm going to say what I don't like. And what I don't like is pretty simple. Egos and attitudes. I don't like egos. My version of punk rock has no place whatsoever for anybody that thinks they're better or higher. I've been around longer. I've done this and I've done that. Great. I've done a ton of shit too. Rah rah. Aren't we all great? The reality again, to me, is let's just go out and play. The newest little idea that I've had in my pea brain is I've been doing this for 35 years with that band. Hockey Teeth is 30 years. Stand Against Fear is 5 years. What I'm trying to promote to my new friends is that we book gigs and we do 4 of them at a time. We go to different towns, we go to different places, and everybody every night gets to be the opening band. Everybody the other night gets to be the headlining band, and you just rotate through your 4 if you've got 4 bands on a bill, and everybody gets an opportunity to experience what it was like as an opening band, what it's like to be a headlining band. Who cares? Let's just play. Let's have some fun. Let's play our music. Let's get together as friends. Let's get together as community. If we're going to do a benefit, let's solidify those friendships and that strength and that core to go out and do what we can for that community. And in that vein, for the right charity, if that's the right word. I don't know the politically correct terms exactly for different things these days because they always seem to change, but I do know where my head and my heart is at, and ultimately it is to benefit and send that person that's at a disadvantage to a better spot in their life. That's it. Going beyond that, don't care. A lot of DIY, I've never had a manager in any band I've ever done. I've never had somebody try and push. I mean, yes, in Hockey Teeth, okay, let's talk about that for a second, because I don't like to be a contrarian. We had people while Green Day and Offspring were going off. We had people come and wine and dine, and we were too cool for that, but we always said we could do this ourselves. We've stayed ground level, and I believe that's the way to go. I don't want to necessarily tour the world. I don't want to be a rock star. I just want to help people. So this is to add to what I liked about being a musician, and that would be in support of my friends. So here's something that Chico actually wrote years ago. This would be his democracy crisis time, but confronting the warmongers, ending hypocrisy, lies, and double standards. And basically it's about Hussein, stopwarnow.org, and his lovely wife JJ, who does a calendar every year. And this was a couple years ago, where she did the punk rock show too, and yay me, but I'm right there, along with some friends with GBH, Colin from GBH, and then she got a photo in there where Colin put the mic down and let me sing Generals along with him, which was really cool, because that was 85 to whatever it's been now, a good 30 years. So that was really cool to be able to sing that. and it goes through with Arm & Hammered and Punch Drunk, Spiderfest. Like, she does a great job. Agnostic Front, supporting my friends. That's what this is all about. And honestly, as a musician, who can honestly say that they get to play with the likes of DOA and Poison Idea, Negative Approach, Jello Biafra, and everything else on this wall? Mance, lovely guy. So, many different things, and certainly my friends in this community all know Glenn from Dirty Bird, and the passing of him, Adam. I mean, the list goes on and on. I've got a friendship tree outside of our trailer. Yes, I'm white trailer trash. My wife Nicole and I decided when Chai passed that there was 24 names already on that tree that she got me that started out here. It's 4-something feet tall now. Chai was number 25. And it's in the ground, and it's growing, and it's flourishing. And even though they've gone, there is memory there on the tree. Here's our flyer, buddy. Yeah. Buffalo MDC. So the other thing, as I mentioned, in regards to what do I like about musician and my favorite show and whatever, well, my favorite show is the show that's coming up. So somewhere in my long-windedness back there of all the stupid shows that I've been to, actually that's not even half of them, that was 3 years of 35 or 40 years, almost 40 years of going to shows. 15 years. Well, in '88, I had mentioned in there that the Circle Jerks and 7 Seconds had played together, and they're coming up in April, so next month. That'll be exciting. My most useless talent, other than pretending to be able to sing, would be my memory, because I've got craft disease. I can't remember a fucking thing. You know, I can remember what costume I wore. I can remember where I was, where I met this guy or that guy or this guy, but I can't remember what I did yesterday. Or can't remember my grade 6 teacher. My other most useless talent would be when Doug and I, Kirkwood, used to be kids. We lived in townhouse condominium complex, and other than skateboarding and doing handstands, Daffy Ducks, and half pipe, whatever, those were talents. But when the guy was sitting and kind of waiting for his turn to go, he would ultimately sit and spit out sunflower seeds, take leaves off a tree and put them there and do that. Next guy would be doing this. Whistling with his hands. So that is my most useless talent, completely. My favorite food? Yeah. The edible kind.